guys? It is your boy, the American F1 fan, Eric Ringle here, and we have just finished the Bahrain Grand Prix, and oh my god, it was absolutely juicy to the very, very end. This race had it all. It had great fights in the front of the pack. It had drama towards the end of the race. We're going to talk about it all here, so let's get right on into the race. So at the beginning of the race, we didn't see a whole lot of tussling at turn one, which I was kind of surprised about because I felt like you could get a Max Verstappen to, push it to the inside of Charles Leclerc in turn one, maybe cause a huge, pile-up potentially because you're trying to go for that first position, which if you can get into first, it's definitely going to help you. You're going to have cleaner air in front of you. Now, with these new regulations that are out, it's supposed to help allow cars to follow more closely. But when you're out in the lead and you don't have cars in front of you, it tends to be a little bit easier once you get out in front. But we didn't see a whole lot of tussling. We saw some positions gained, some positions lost. You saw Valtteri Bottas, who started right alongside of Lewis Hamilton at the beginning of the race. He fell way deep down into the field, fell to 14th at one point. You saw the likes of Mick Schumacher work himself up into the top 10. Magnussen had a great start, worked himself up to P5 before he started to fall back down to P7. Obviously, Mercedes has potentially figured out the issues that were keeping them from running at top pace. It looks like throughout this weekend they may have been able to figure out the porpoising issue with the cars, basically, hopping up and down, going down the straights. It looks like they figured out that problem. But starting it off, Charles Leclerc got a great start, was able to get way ahead of Max Verstappen. But then we got to the first round of pit stops. Now, Charles started on a new set of soft tires, whereas Max started on a used set, which probably had about 2 laps more tire life taken out of it. But when Max Verstappen stopped first, he got the undercut, and there for a little bit, we saw it looked like Max Verstappen was going to take the lead of the race and get ahead of Charles Leclerc. But this fight was absolutely epic, and this is exactly what Formula One wanted when they introduced these new regulations, was this type of fighting. And it was magical to watch for 3 to 4 laps of Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen going back and forth, getting that 1 and 2 spot back and forth. It was so much fun to watch, and it absolutely made my race there towards the beginning. But then, as the race progressed, it started to kind of turn into what I saw on Twitter, some people calling a glorified test session. It was just literally one long train of cars. Nobody was really, taking a step out and really kind of, getting their teeth out and really kind of fighting for position. And it got boring, to be honest. I'm sure that there are a lot of people at home sitting there and saying, oh, well, these new regulations were supposed to, allow for more fighting, and we didn't see that for a good portion of that race. Once after the first pit stops, all the way past the second, you didn't see a whole lot of fighting, and it kind of got boring there for a little bit. I was getting ready to when we were about 40 laps in, I was getting ready to tweet out that I guess the new regulations haven't solved all the issues. But then lap 46 and 47 come along. Now, before I talk about lap 46 and 47, after Max's second pit stop, he started to complain of an issue. Now, he wasn't sure if it was the announcers on Sky F1 that covered the race for ESPN. They said they weren't sure if it was maybe a tire didn't get put on tightly enough, or if it was maybe something to go along with the engines, which we will find out later what it exactly was. But he was complaining that he wasn't getting quite the drive that he had been getting throughout the race, and it was causing problems. Well, then lap 46 and 47 come along, and Pierre Gasly, who had been running P10 the entire race, had been running really a great race. I'm sorry, not P10. He was actually P8 for quite a bit. He was just behind Kevin Magnussen, who was in P7 for a majority of this race. Pierre Gasly then pulls off. I believe it was about turn 4 or turn 5. He pulls off. They showed the on-screen, the onboard camera shot, and you could see the steering wheel goes completely blank, which means he totally lost power in the car. And then a fire erupts out of the back end of his vehicle, and he has to hop out, get out real quick. They are able to get the fire put out, but this brings out the safety car and has basically reset this entire race. So all now that has happened, everybody goes into the pits except for one person, and this is my only complaint to the Haas F1 team. Mick Schumacher's the only one who doesn't pit under this safety car. Everybody else goes to the pits and gets a brand new set of tires, or at least a lesser used set of soft tires, which is the absolute fastest tire you can be on. So basically everything gets reset. You've got Charles Leclerc in first, Max Verstappen second, Carlos Sainz third, fourth you got Sergio Perez, fifth you got Lewis Hamilton, Russell in sixth, Magnussen in seventh, Bottas in eighth. You had Guan Yu Zhou in ninth. It was one of the Alpines in ninth, and then you had Mick Schumacher in 10th at the restart. And all throughout the safety car period, you could hear Max, claiming on the radio, something's not right. I'm not getting the drive. I'm not getting the traction. As I'm, even driving at a little bit faster speeds under the safety car, I'm just not getting that same drive. And as we saw, all hell breaks loose at the restart. There's about 7 laps to go, and the restart happens, and Max Verstappen is just losing pace. He's just losing pace. Carlos Sainz starts to gain on him, and with about, I want to say it was about 4 to 5 laps to go, you could see that Max Verstappen just it doesn't have it anymore all of a sudden. And with literally 3 laps remaining, all of a sudden Max Verstappen just all power just about cut out in his car, and all of a sudden everybody starts passing him. Max just dropping down the field, and they finally tell him, get to the pit lane, we're going to have to retire the car. There is something wrong with your battery or your engine within the car, and go ahead and get into the pits. So now it's a Ferrari 1-2, Charles Leclerc in first, Carlos Sainz in second, and now this elevates Sergio Perez into third place. So Red Bull could still pull some kind of magic here and at least get a third place and get some points going on at the first race of the season. Final lap of the Grand Prix. So Hamilton has been chasing down Perez the last couple laps and had gotten into DRS range. And all of a sudden, going into turn 1, Sergio Perez, he now claims on radio that he lost all power when he got into that corner, and it engine braked him and spun him around in that corner. Hamilton now pops into third, George Russell into fourth, and my boy Kevin Magnussen in the Haas Formula 1 car gets into P5, and I'm ecstatic. This really, with as close as Hamilton was, this could have turned out to be much, much worse of an accident, basically, because with Perez, he spun out in the middle of that corner. That could have very easily collected Hamilton, Russell, Magnussen. It could have collected a lot of cars, but luckily everybody was able to come through unscathed. But now Red Bull have two cars that don't finish the Formula 1 race, and neither one of them finish in the points. So then this promotes Hamilton up to third, fourth Russell, and Magnussen fifth. But, this race, I think within the final 10 laps of the race, really kind of got turned on his head by Pierre Gasly and the unfortunate loss of power in his vehicle. I have to say, I was entertained for the first part of the race, Probably could have gone to sleep for the middle part, but so glad I didn't, because I would have missed the absolute epicness of the final, 10 laps. Basically, the sprint race at the very end. And Charles Leclerc is your winner, the first in this new era of Formula One cars. He's able to finish first. I'm going to go ahead and read through the final order here. So you had Charles Leclerc win the race. You had Carlos Sainz finish second, Lewis Hamilton third, George Russell fourth, Kevin Magnussen fifth, Bottas in the Alfa Romeo sixth. Which, if you guys saw my predictions, I totally did not expect this. With the least amount of running that Alfa Romeo got, I think this is absolutely a huge win for Alfa Romeo to finish in the top 10 and get basically 2 cars in the points, as I'll run down the order here. So you had Ocon in the Alpine finish 7th, another very surprising outcome for Alpine, who was not showing signs of having a fast car throughout testing. Then you had Yuki Tsunoda finish in 8th. You had Alonso finish 9th, so Alpine has a double points finish here. Guan Yu Zhou, in his very first F1 race, gets points for Alfa Romeo, gets the final points-paying position. Then you had Mick Schumacher with his best performance ever in a Formula One race, finish 11th. You had Lance Stroll in the Aston Martin finish 12th. Albon finished 13th. Ricardo in 14th. And Lando Norris in 15th. This really... We saw the signs that McLaren could be in deep, deep trouble all throughout this weekend. Their problems may not be totally solved with the brake issues, and we definitely saw that they've got some stuff to work on to get ready for 1 week's time, as we're going to be in Saudi Arabia. Then you had Nicholas Latifi, Nicholas Latifi finished 16th. Nico Hülkenberg, who subbed in for Sebastian Vettel, who tested positive for COVID-19. I mean, he did anything you could ask for, just bring the car home for Aston Martin. Did absolutely an amazing job. So, hats off to Nico Hülkenberg for stepping in for Aston Martin. Then you had 3 racers who did not finish the race. You had Sergio Perez, Max Verstappen, and Pierre Gasly did not finish the race. So this, oh man, I think this is going to really hurt Red Bull to start off. And I mean, you got to remember too that Red Bull is now basically running their own power unit, because they took over for Honda after Honda stepped out of Formula One. They're basically now working on their own power units, and this may not bode well for the fact that they have 2 cars basically lose power at the very end of the race. Alright, so let's move on to the standings. So obviously it's the first race of the season, so obviously the points for each driver. Leclerc's going to lead the standings with 26 points, as he got the fastest lap of the race. You got Sainz with 18 points. Hamilton's got 15. George Russell's got 12. Kevin Magnussen has 10. Valtteri Bottas has 8. Esteban Ocon with 6 points, Yuki Tsunoda with 4, Fernando Alonso with 2, and Guan Yu Zhou, he wants to be called Guan Yu Zhou. I'm going to go with that. I apologize, because I know he wants to be called the reverse of that. So Guan Yu Zhou picking up the final points paying position in 10th. But going on to the team standings, this is very interesting to start off. So you have Ferrari leading the constructor standings with 44 points. You have Mercedes in second place with 27 points. Haas Formula One team in number 3 position with 10 points. You've got Alfa Romeo with 9 points, Alpine with 8, and Alfa Romeo with 4. Then you have, so now the next 4 teams, even though they didn't score points, they'll get ranked based on their best finishing position throughout the season. So you have Aston Martin, Williams, McLaren, and bringing up the rear so far is Red Bull Racing. So we are just now weeks time away from Saudi Arabia for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. We've had some track adjustments there to hopefully add some more racing there. So I can't wait for next weekend, as we will do the exact same thing for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. But guys, slap a like on this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Comment down in the comment section down below. What was your favorite moment of the Bahrain Grand Prix today? Guys, also subscribe to the channel if you are new for more Formula One content on this channel. Guys, I'm Eric Ringel, and I'm signing off.